Hello, this is Imagery, and I'm here to show you how to use custom satellite imagery from mapping sources other than TerraLand such as Google or Bing. TerraLand Downloader uses as-rich world imagery for obtaining its elevation and satellite imagery data to finally create photorealistic terrains. But as mapping sources has different resolutions and qualities over different areas, we wanted to show you how to use previously downloaded imagery from other sources and use them in TerraLand to texture-generated terrains. The first thing we're gonna do is to create a scene and save it. Create a folder for our scene. And then call our scene the test scene. Then we're gonna bring our TerraLand Downloader by using Unity's Start menu, going to Tools, TerraUnity, TerraLand Downloader. By going into each section of the TerraLand GUI, you can check the settings. We got the address location in the South Sister in the United States. Then we got the interactive map section, which shows you the selected area by pressing the show map button. And then you can change the location by left clicking the mouse button. We can go to the address location bar again and then search for any desired location and click search, and then here goes the result. You can set the location on that specific area. We got area size section, which gives you the selected area's metrics. We got 20 per 20 kilometers for now. In engine resolution preset section, we have some predefined presets for which sets the resolutions of the entire settings. We're gonna go manual for the sake of this video and set the settings for outcomes. We go to new train settings and set it 4x4 trains, which gives you total number of 16 trains. In the Save Elevation Data section, make sure that you have selected the ASCII grid format, which gives you a georeference file by using the projection file generated automatically, which can be useful when working with external GIS programs such as Global Mapper. By selecting any of the formats in this section, the elevation data and the Heightmaps will be saved in your project. As you see in the bottom of the GUI, there are 4 green bars which gives you the info about the resolutions of the Heightmap and satellite imagery. In the left, you will see total and chunk resolution for the Heightmap, and in the right, we got the total and chunk resolution for our satellite imagery. And as we got the 16K for the satellite imagery, which is too high for this video, we're gonna lower it down. We set it to 2048, so we got a total of 8K resolution for our satellite imagery. In the Analysis Maps Downloader section, make sure none of the map types are selected as we don't need them for now. And finally, by pressing the Generate Train button, the photorealistic trains will be generated in your scene based on all the settings that you have previously set up. As you see, a new game object has been generated in your scene, which contains the 16 train chunks. And meanwhile, elevation and imagery data is being downloaded by TerraLand to finally being applied on our terrains. Let's take a closer look at the generated trains. As you see, TerraLand is generating ASCII Heightmap file for later usage. Let's take a look at the downloads folder for TerraLand, which contains all previously downloaded data, including the elevation and imagery. Now we are going to generate two other sets of terrain, but this time without any satellite images applied, so that we can use our previously downloaded imagery data from other sources and apply them on our terrains. First, we need to go to the offline data section and unload terrain chunks, so that new terrains will be generated upon pressing the generate button. And this time, instead of pressing the generate terrain button at the center, we're gonna press the generate heights button at the left. So only elevation data will be downloaded and applied on our terrains. Let's do the same for another set of terrains. Let's rename the terrain patterns in column S3, Google, and Bing. And we put them side by side. We give them labels for scene view comparison. Now let's go and import all available data files into Global Mapper and do the rest of modifications in there. We start with save elevation data by going to the downloads folder in your project, and then a subfolder with the download date, and lastly the elevation folder, which contains the previously downloaded ASCII file. As you see, TerraLand has already generated projection files, which makes this file a georeference one that can be used in any GIS programs. Let's drag the ASCII file into the Global Mapper so it can import it. Before using the custom imagery tiles, which has already been downloaded, let's check out the built-in online source in Global Mapper. There are a bunch of mapping sources available in Global Mapper. The World Imagery is S3's World Imagery and is the same source as TerraLand uses. Let's connect to this and load it up for testing. In the control center at the left, all loaded data will be displayed as layers. Drag and drop the elevation layer to the bottom of the list so it can be displayed on top of other layers in the main view. Let's hide the World Imagery layer and check another source. Now it's time to work with our offline data, which has been already downloaded from other sources. In this video, we are going to use Google and Bing tiles which has been obtained from other external programs. Let's start with a combined image out of Google tiles and import it in Global Mapper by drag and dropping it into that. Again, we drag the elevation layer to be on top of the list so that we see that it exactly matches with the loaded imagery. Let's try the Bing tiles too and do the same procedure for them. Now that we have imported all available data, we need to export them and use them as textures for our previously generated trains in Unity. To do this, we have to define an area which exactly matches with the train boundaries. Select the elevation layer in the control center. Right-click on that and go to Layer, V-Box Coverages. Click OK and then Yes, as we want a simple rectangular area. A new layer called User Created Features will be generated. Right-click on that and choose Select All Features, so it can be used as a cropping area for our exporting images. Hide the elevation layer. Turn on the desired layer for the export, in this case Google. Go to File, Export, Export Image Format. A pop-up will come up which contains all formats for the raster image. We're going to use the JPEG format as it does the job for us. A new window will come up with 3 tabs, which we're going to go into each tab to change the settings. In the first tab called General, make sure that none of the metadata files has been selected. The sampler spacing section in here is very important, and these values define each pixel's resolution. And every time this window comes up, this shows you the maximum resolution for each pixel. We're gonna leave them as default here. In the next tab called Tiling, we're gonna define the number of exported images. Choose the specified number of rows and columns, and we're gonna set them to 4 to match with the 16 trains generated in Unity. In the last tab called Export Bounds, we're going to select the crop to selected area features, so it does the export only in the defined boundaries. And lastly, we click OK, set up a destination folder and click Save. Let's check out the generated image files. Now we are going to do the same steps to export Bing tiles. Let's check out the 16 generated Bing tiles. We're all done in Global Mapper. Now let's get back to Unity and texture trains using generated images out of Global Mapper. Create a folder in your project to import the tile images. Call it Tiles. Drag and drop the image folder into your project, and the satellite image files will be imported as textures. You can then change texture importer settings for the images, but we're gonna leave them for now. In order to texture our trains for our custom satellite images, we need to load up a component called TerraLand Train. Load it up by going to Tools, TerraUnity, TerraLand Train. TerraLand Train component contains of all needed operations for creating, updating, and editing trains. It can load any available elevation data in three formats of ASCII, RAW, and SRAS-TIFF to generate or edit trains. It also contains smoothing, neighboring, train to mesh, mesh to train, and other useful operations just in one place. First, we have to insert our train parent into the offline data section. And then go to the image tiler section to texture the trains. Simply drag and drop the folder which contains the images into the tile images folder, but as we have selected a train parent containing of train chunks, it cannot be accepted as it's not a single train, unless this folder has the proper structure to be recognizable for the image tiler. Let's manually create a single train and check the image tiler. We load the single train into the single train field. As it's a flat train, we need to apply the height maps on it. Drag and drop the ASCII saved elevation data into the ASCII field, and it gives you some information about the data file. By pressing Generate Train button, the heights will be generated for our inserted train. Now it's time to texture our single train using the image tiler. Drag and drop the images folder and hit image tiler. Our single train now has 16 images on it. Let's rename and label the single train. Let's take a look at the satellite image folder generated by the TerraLand downloader itself and see how the structure looks like in there. As you see, there are 16 folders, each containing a satellite image for each train chunk. Let's set up the proper structure for the Google and Bing image tiles folder. Create a folder and rename that to Train 1. Select that and press Ctrl D on your keyboard multiple times in order to have 16 folders. Unity will automatically rename folders correctly. Finally, drag and drop each satellite image to its corresponding folder. Do this for the Bing image tiles too. Now that we're set up, we're going to texture our inserted train chunks. Pressing Image Tiler will tile the images in the inserted train. That's all you have to know in order to import and use any custom elevation and imagery data, and use TerraLand terrain component to generate, edit, and update terrains in your Unity scenes. Thanks for watching.